Hi there, I'm Kristen, and this is Medusa in the Renaissance. In this video, I'll explain the myth of Medusa and her portrayal through 16th century art. Medusa is a well-known Greco-Roman mythological character who had snakes for hair and a gaze that turned onlookers to stone. She became the subject of many works of art spanning the centuries and was depicted in a range of ways from horrific and fearsome to beautiful and victimized. One era in which Medusa was a popular figure was the European Renaissance, a time when classical mythology, philosophy, and art were enthusiastically revisited. In this video, I will analyze 3 artworks from the 16th century, which I had the pleasure of viewing on a trip to Italy last year. Through these, I will reveal the iconography and dichotomy of the story of Medusa. In ancient myth, Medusa is the youngest and only mortal of the 3 Gorgon sisters, with Gorgon meaning fierce, terrible, and grim in Greek. They were often depicted as ugly and fearsome monsters with beards, tusks, and scales, and were used to protect against enemies. Though images of Medusa became more feminine around 5th century BC, she was made frightening and off-putting still in her expression, snake-ridden hair, and prominent teeth. In this famous work by Caravaggio, we see Medusa's gruesomeness in the illustration of her death. In the myth of Medusa's slaying, the hero Perseus uses a polished shield from Aphrodite as a mirror to avoid being turned to stone by Medusa's deadly gaze. He then beheads her, and in this work we see her reflection in his shield frozen mid-screech as she realizes her imminent death. Though here she is depicted as a woman rather than a beast, her face is unnerving, with her mouth open, teeth showing, eyes bulging, and brows furrowed. The right side of her face is highlighted, contrasting the darkness of the snakes that adorn her head, and emphasizing her dark features and dramatic expression. The yellow-green of the background creates a sickening tone and draws the viewer's eye to the highly contrasted, vibrant red of her mouth and bleeding neck. Rather than simply dripping, blood rushes violently from her neck, creating energetic diagonals that are echoed in the slight offset of her head and the curves of the snakes that act as her hair and bring the viewer's eye fully around the piece. The chaos, movement, and emotional intensity of this work are all typical of Mannerism. This was the artistic style that became quite common toward the end of the Renaissance when this painting was created, and when political and social upheaval throughout Italy forced many artists to leave Rome. The canvas of this piece is round as it was created to be a parade shield or rotella for Caravaggio's first patron, Del Monte, who later passed it to the Medicis, the most powerful and rich family of Italy at the time. As symbols of Gorgons had been used for centuries, this piece was intended to protect the owner and frighten his enemies. It also likened the owner to Perseus himself, suggesting bravery and heroism against this monster of Medusa. The next work is a bronze sculpture by Benvenuto Cellini called Perseus with the Head of Medusa. This is a common theme due to the hero's use of her head as a weapon in his later adventures. In this piece, the hero is now present, nude, and wearing gifts from the gods to assist him in his just accomplished task of slaying Medusa. However, the shield is not included, and Perseus instead grips a sword and stands tall and muscular. This suggests the strength that the sculpture's patrons, once more the wealthy Medicis, would have wanted to emanate. In the square, he stands high atop a pillar over Medusa's body and looks down at the viewer, causing Perseus to look menacing and powerful, and acting as the protector of the city once more as the work's patrons intended. Turning our gaze toward Medusa, however, we do not see the vicious monster we expect as Caravaggio portrayed, but instead a woman's smooth complexion and crumpled body. This depiction, and many like it, arose from her more tragic backstory. In Ovid's Metamorphosis, young Medusa did not start out as a monster, but was instead said to have been the most beautiful of the 3 Gorgon sisters and was fancied by many. The god Poseidon found Medusa in the temple of Athena, desired her, and raped her. Athena, known for her chastity, was enraged by the defilement of her temple, and in her fury she turned the victim Medusa's hair into snakes, so anyone who gazed upon her would be turned to stone. The emotion of this painful backstory is translated through Cellini's sculpture and is even noted in the draft of Medusa's face. Despite this pain, her facial features seem relaxed. Her cheeks are full, her skin smooth, and her eyebrows only slightly furrowed. Her eyes are turned down toward the viewers below, almost daring passers-by to stare into her eyes to see if the myth is true. The curls of her snake hair ringlets echo the spiraling entrails of her neck, whose vertical lines lead the eye to her body below. Her body is contorted to strange angles to fit on the pedestal, and the diagonals created convey the energy of her life just now gone. Her right arm limply falls off the side of the pedestal, signifying her ultimate defeat. This work responds to the area it surrounds, as the piazza is filled with many renditions of heroes and mythical figures made of stone, as if they had gazed at Medusa. Much as Caravaggio's work uses the physicality of the parade shield to represent Perseus's mythological shield, Cellini uses his frozen form to tie reality to the myth itself. The tragicness of her story is also shown in this last painting, in which we are brought down to floor level to see her severed head as it has just fallen. Though there were similar paintings created at the time, this one truly brings the viewer to Medusa's eye level on the ground, giving the viewer a chance to truly see from her perspective even in the last moments of her life. Her snake hair seems to writhe and hiss as it hits the ground, and in the background we notice many other creatures, such as rodents, lizards, frogs, and even bats, which draw our eye around her head. Her placement amongst these animals, who are seen as vermin or pests to be exterminated, reflects her misunderstood and hated nature, as people saw her as a monster or nuisance rather than a living being. The darkness of the background is contrasted by the highlight of her face and the snakes in the foreground, drawing attention to her averted and lifeless gaze, and the expression of agony on both her and the snakes alike. Rather than depict her with a menacing and direct gaze, here the viewer is truly safe and may see her as a suffering being rather than a violent monster. Though this painting is now known to be the work of an unknown Flemish painter, it was once thought to be the work of Leonardo da Vinci, the now immensely famous artist of the Renaissance. Though this work is not his, Da Vinci is credited with the now commonplace interpretation of her hairs being made entirely of snakes after he created such a work when he was young. Through this video, I hope you've gained some understanding of the dichotomy of Medusa, who on one hand was a fearsome beast and on the other was a victimized young woman. Her intricate connection to beauty, horror, protection, pain, and innocence have made her a captivating subject for centuries. She continues to be represented now by contemporary artists, movies, and even celebrities. In modern times, Medusa has become a symbol of female strength, and her story has been modified into one of empowerment. This is exemplified in Luciano Garbati's now famous work from 2008, which echoes Cellini's statue but reverses the roles of Medusa and Perseus to create a powerful statement. Though we've assessed merely 3 works from one time period, I hope you have gained knowledge to better comprehend Medusa's symbolism in ancient and contemporary works, and have gained an appreciation for her myth and use in art as I have. Thanks for listening.